Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. We have a transfer special for you guys today with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. James Rhodes, also known as Muppetiers on X. So make sure you go and check him out. If you're part of our community, make sure you check his YouTube channel out as well. Some fantastic stuff over on there. James, always something happens when you come on. We always say this, don't we? And no different today. I've got 2 words for you, and you can lead the dance. Mason Mount.
Yeah, injured again. I knew about this from someone at the start of the week, unfortunately.
Oh, so it's not breaking news for you, is it? It's just where, like...
No. This
You've had time
it's
to
just
let the news
it
settle
was
in.
the same with Luke Shaw. I knew he was injured for like over 10 days before it came out, I think it was. And I don't know why they're doing it that way at this point. The club seemingly like having them hold back these extra times when players are injured, but for some reason they are. It's not a serious injury for Mount. Some of the things that I'll be curious to see about for some of these injuries we're having is that they don't recur, right? Where like they pulled a hamstring, come back for a game in a few weeks, and then happens again. The same thing. Because when you're talking about the medical team overhaul, things like that, they can't really fix players getting hurt in the first place, but they can make sure that they actually come back and they don't miss 6 months after a regular muscle injury. So it'll be a good test. It's not surprising, though. 2 players made of glass, Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, just can't get healthy. It is what it is, It's hard to rely on them, isn't it?
I want to know why he was able to play for 3 seasons with no injuries and was super reliable, and then all of a sudden, that season at Chelsea, he's just fallen apart since then. It's mental.
It is.
Like, Luke Shaw's been
Quite
consistently an injured player, like, throughout his career, so I kind of get it. Martial, another one, and then Shaw, like, Mount just fell off a cliff.
I don't think Mount's style, like the way he plays, because he's so intense and presses so hard. You see these kind of things like hamstring injuries. Like he pushes himself a lot. So yeah, it's gutting. I like him. I've always backed him, but it's when it gets to a point where it's like, oh god, here we go again. Same thing with Luke Shaw, innit? Like we said, it's not great, Sam.
No, but it's not. It's how long did we give Anthony Martial? Was it 9 years we gave Anthony Martial?
Yeah.
Like, we cannot give Luke Shaw and Mason Mount 9 years at this club. You cannot. Like, it just cannot happen. But anyways, should we talk transfers, James? Because we're on deadline day tomorrow, so it'll be over in a few short hours. We did a few ratings on the our transfer window overall on the show, and not to pick holes in anything, but is there anything you would have liked to have seen United do that we didn't do? Like a left back, maybe an additional striker, maybe a Shaw. Back. Yeah, a Shaw or a Rashford going.
It's just that.
Yeah, exactly. Not all you wanted.
Like, that's literally it. I wanted a left back. I didn't expect them to solve every problem this summer. So I understand that there's more needed. Another midfielder we're going to need. Eventually another center back. Maybe another forward, depending on what happens. But to me, a left back is the only thing I can see this season being a serious problem. I have a huge concern over how we play and our inability to utilize the left side in attack. And we the difference, unfortunately, when Luke Shaw plays and when he doesn't is astounding in how the whole dynamics work on that left side. That's it for me. It's like that's sort of. I thought they put Mazraoui over there. I really liked him too, not because Dalot isn't any good, but because Mazraoui can play with his left foot and drive with his left foot. And I just think that dynamic missing is huge. It's such a huge problem to me.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. I just wanted the additional. No. Are you still solid on your one of Sancho or Greenwood staying at this point?
It's close. It's close because obviously we're going to talk about all of that with him today. Yeah. But he's like on the verge. But he could stay. Like as of right this second, I think it's almost more likely that Sancho stays than goes still.
Okay.
Like as of right this second. But the because Juve are kind of they bottled it, right? They weren't giving us the obligation we wanted. Yeah. And we've United have made it pretty clear they're not going to take this like loan, dry loan, how they would call it, right? Where it's just you pay some of the wages and pay for him to play somewhere else.
sorry to interject, right? What the fuck is a dry loan? Because we've been trying to figure this
out. What is dry mean?
It's a term they use in Italy and Europe on these loans a lot. It just means there's nothing in it. It's just a loan.
Right. Okay.
That's it. Like there's no options. There's no obligations. It's just we give you a fee, we pay some wages, and that's it. And then he returns. There's nothing beyond that. Okay. United aren't interested in that. Why would they want to pay Jadon Sancho $100,000 a week to go play somewhere else for a year? What's the point? He's still training. You know, he's not banished from the club. It was all handled professionally this summer. I've made that point clear a few times because I think it does matter. Everything's been handled professionally this summer. Yeah. By him, by the club, by everybody. It's not like it was. It's the adults are in charge. We've talked about that, and so it's all being handled professionally right now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of adults being in charge, obviously, whilst the takeover was ongoing, you had the Qatar, you had the Sajim, and you've always been very encouraging about INEOS and what they want to do and these kind of things. How would you assess INEOS now? The dust hasn't settled because the transfer window is still technically open. But how would you have they exceeded expectations for you?
I would say no, they haven't exceeded expectations. I mean, I had high expectations. I don't think it's been perfect because, well, on the one hand, I think that the way that the whole manager thing played out in June is still a bit of a mess to me. Yes. And I still feel that I know we want to talk about it, but I still feel that there's an air of uncertainty surrounding the whole thing because there was no new contract in the end and things kind of, we'll talk about that. But for sure.
I think your audio went slightly then. But I can hear you now.
Yeah, is it back now? It's all good?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a miss. I think otherwise, I think it's been solid, and I think that they've approached things the right way. They've done things the right way. It's about what you would expect from a good, competent leadership overall in the window. So nothing too crazy, but because I would expect they'd be able to replicate what they've done this summer regularly. And so that was my expectation. So I think maybe just above expectations, because maybe I didn't think they'd be as much this summer able to do all of this, just with the timing. I think getting Dan Ashworth in on July 1st, it should have been done earlier. That's sort of a negative to me. They should have done that earlier because it clearly switched on when he got in terms of being able to really press ahead. But I would rate him pretty highly on this window for sure.
Mm. Just to swing that to you, Sam, as well. What's been the standout for the window for you?
Just addressing issues that we've been screaming about for God knows how long. Like, I watch James' channel, I'm sure everybody in the chat does. And the amount of times we spoke about why United not going after players who are towards the end of the deals, younger profile, players who are not well known, negotiating with clubs, not paying over the odds. We've talked about it for ages, and then they've done everything we asked for. They've not paid over the odds. They walked away from the Jared Branthwaite deal when Everton were asking ridiculous money. They stood firm with Awate, even though everybody else is claiming we caved to PSG's demands. We didn't. So I think everything in that, I think that's the way a club should operate. And we're all surprised as United fans because we've been ran by clowns for the last however many years. And to have people, like James said, to have adults in the room and just be going, no, we're not doing that, or no, we're not paying that. And them going, and the club's going, oh, fuck, okay. And then willing to negotiate, oh, we just walked away. I think that's the thing that surprised me the most. And I shouldn't be surprised because that's how a football club should be run. Like, that's what should happen.
Outgoings as well has been a major thing on it. That's the biggest thing that surprised me when you look at the net spend we've managed to get reduced with the 100 million in sales or whatever it is. I think they've done extremely well on that. So I think overall it's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Some things you can improve. You got the left back situation. You got a couple of kind of issues like James already alluded to. So I'm quite happy. I'm excited for the season now. Yeah, what Ten Hag, Sam? Do we want to talk about?
let's talk about Ten Hag because James mentioned it there. I know it's early days, James. We've had 2 games and a couple of pre-seasons, but is there any sort of tactical or team improvements that you've seen that have given you a bit of hope for the season, or is there inversely something you've seen where you're like, that worries me, like that I don't like that side of it?
A bit of both, right? I think that the pressing structures were better. How much of that comes down to just Mason Mount playing, which we're going to find out how it is
A
without
lot. He
him
has an
very
influence.
soon.
He has an influence.
Now, Xerxes is a good presser too, but I would almost argue it was one of those, like, I feel the problem, I guess my concern with Ten Hag is a lot of time I feel like everything's a kiss curse with him because you get the better pressing structure with Mount, but you're sacrificing the striker. And so we got better out of possession, worse in possession, and now we're about to get better in possession. Are we about to get worse out of possession by playing, Xerxes instead of Mount? Is it going to fall apart again? We're out of possession. We don't press properly, and the big gaps show up again. All of that. I felt like there was positive signs in terms of playing a higher line, especially in the first game, and actually pushing up with them. But then I felt like in the second game, we fell back into a very, very deep defensive line. I think that my biggest concern is that there's signs of things improving, but the biggest issues I've had tactically with Ten Hag have been that kind of starting at the front is I think that we don't score enough goals, we don't create enough chances, we don't sustain attacks. We rush, and then it takes us 5 minutes to get back into an attacking position. And I think our problems start there, and then everything comes back from that. And that I haven't seen change yet. Against Brighton, I thought we were decent, but we attack so quickly that it like we go for it all in one, and then we miss a chance, and we have nothing for 20 minutes. We don't like keep making chances and keep putting the ball in the box and keep getting in there. It's like all or nothing too often. And I think it creates the problems elsewhere, similarly to even how we conceded the last goal. Everybody's rushing off the corner to try to get into a counterattack instead of defending and controlling the ball. Why do we do that? What can we just settle, control it, push our whole, I don't like make too much of the comparison to American football, but I like to see us dominate like territory more, I guess is how I call it. Like in American football, you try to, even if you lose the ball, you try to get the ball up and then punt it from further up so that you've got them pinned in their area. So you makes it easier to defend. And then when you're attacking, you're getting closer each time and just pin teams deep, especially when we need a goal instead of going for the all-in-one. You can still attack quickly. You can still have transitions. I thought Fulham was a model for that. We were in their half like the whole game, but we still attacked quickly, but we were in their half the whole time. So we could just win it and attack, win it and attack, win it and attack. Whereas versus Brighton, it was like long stretches in between actually getting in. And then the fullbacks, nobody ever really got involved at all in the attack against Brighton. Not even like one time, bar the long ball to Dallo that he hit across. After that, it never happened again the whole game. So those are the things I would like to see improve, is mostly the attacking structures, because I think we create too many problems for ourselves by constantly trying to score in one go, and then it breaks the other problems. I've seen improvement in the build-up. I've seen improvement in the press. I've seen improvement in like 2/3 of our play, but that final third will break us because we just try too hard, I guess, to score when we struggle.
The thing I noticed is when we do, like you said, the transition, the quality of the passing on the transition seems to be really poor. Like there was an incident at Brighton, ball gets played out, and I think Ahmad gets hold of it, and he literally takes 2-3 touches when he should be into his feet, out of his feet, and he's pinging it across to Rashford. When he does get it out to Rashford, it's a shit pass. It's behind him.
Yeah.
And then Rashford's offside, or the timing's off, and Rashford's making his run too early. All this like quality, sort of fine tuning at the end, that seems to be a massive issue for me. Like, I think if that was all good, like I hate to use Liverpool as an example, but if you saw that counter Liverpool did with the Luis
I do
Diaz
all the time because they are a good example. Yeah,
you see that counter,
exactly
every pass was pinpoint, precise. It made it to the player on time. The pass was correct, and they finished it. Fantastic goal. We just seem to stumble about and trying to like struggle to get it up the pitch, and the passing is all over the place. Is that a tactical thing, or is that just a player quality, a player focus issue? Like I don't understand what's going on there.
Well, it's a bit of both, right? Like I think it's kind of the squad dynamics too, and that's why I say it doesn't quite make a lot of sense. Ahmad isn't a guy I play on the run like that. He's not. I'm not saying you shouldn't start Ahmad, right? Because I think he's been very good, but he's not the player I'm using for counter-attacking football, right? For transitional football. I'm using Garnacho and Rashford on the wings, but I'm putting Xerxes in the middle when I'm doing that to be sure that he can hold it up and lay it off to these two runners. That makes sense.
Yep.
And so like it's kind of personnel based. I think it was almost the worst personnel for counterattacking football because they're just not good at it. Bruno is good at it, but not in the false nine. You want him deeper if he's going to be pinging the balls out to the sides and forward and through the lines. You don't want him up in the front and receiving those passes. You want him making those passes. And when we scored against Fulham in the end, it was a bit of a transition, which was fine at the state of the game that it was. Bruno gets it on the side and drives it forward, and he's got runners ahead of him. Xerxes ahead of him. Garnacho's ahead of him. Even Casemiro gets ahead of him. And so he can spray the ball to the side, and then they can put it back in, and it can all work. So I think a lot of it is down to personnel, but I think it's also deciding what kind of team we want to be. Are we going to just always play on the run? Or are we going to slow the game down and pick and choose our moments? And I think that a lot of it is down to that decision making. And I do think that's a coaching thing. Making the terrible comparison to Liverpool again, Arne Slot gave an interview talking about specifically that risk and reward, where under Klopp, they'd gotten into a state where they maybe went too quickly all the time and they never slowed it down. Well, we did the same under
as well.
Yeah, and we did the same under Solskjaer, right? We went real fast. And when it worked, it worked. And when it didn't, we really struggled, and it went to shit. Like it was feast or famine. And I feel that way a lot with us. It's feast or famine. It's all in one. We get two big chances and then nothing. And so I think it's the decision making of when do you go for it, when do you slow it down, build it up, let the team all push into their half and break the defense down, and instead of always going for the goal. So a lot of that's decision making. Maybe that's individual, maybe it's coaching, but it's a problem for Ten Hag to fix. I think that's the biggest thing I think he's got to fix for us to get goals this year.
I don't think this style is sustainable to win leagues. Saturday right now watching it, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. It's you can bring in the profile players. Maybe Uarte will improve it, but like we said on the show yesterday, he's not going to win you a league title. Him coming in, he'll do a job. He'll eat up a lot of ground. He'll bring that kind of Mascherano, Kante, them kind of players. He'll bring that role, but he ain't going to win you league titles. And I'm watching the games and I'm seeing the same mistakes. I'm seeing the same issues in midfield. And some of them are individual mistakes. You can't pin it all on the manager. It's not just all
Ten Hag. 100%.
But as a collective, I'm a little bit worried, and I think there's going to be huge pressure at the back end of December, James, because now he's got a system ahead of him, a professional. We've got adults in the back room. He's been fully backed with players. He's got a good quality squad, I would suggest, at least a top 4 quality squad.
Yes.
What does your gut tell you about his future? And do you see, is he the guy to bring us back in your heart of hearts with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 issues with it, right? Number one is that I don't believe that they are convinced he is, because obviously everything that happened. I said a lot of this stuff a while back on when we were doing videos through the year, kind of hinting at different things and all that. And I remember it was good to see, Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic came out with a whole piece about how, that confirmed this thing that I reported where they had a meeting in Monaco and they essentially sacked Ten Hag at that time, at least in their minds, right? They decided we're replacing Ten Hag. Time to look for a new manager, and they went on that search after that. That's all pretty telling. Then, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. They went to get a new contract, and they didn't get one. There was still disagreements between him and them on how the manager's job is, what it entails, the clauses, the roles, the things like that. And they're the type of people who, just you can see it, right? They're real serious people, and if it's not ideal, they're not convinced. And so I'm not to suggest that they're already looking to change. I'm not trying to do anything like that or undermine him or anything, but he is in prove it. territory, right? He has to prove it now. He has not proven it at all in their eyes. He's got a lot of work to do, so he has to do very well. And I don't know. It's so early. I feel like we'll still scrape along a bit on the quality of our players because we have a lot of good players, and I feel that players like Ugarte will fix some of the issues just simply due to energy, the legs that he adds, things like that. But it's really tough because I don't want to be negative about it because I actually think no matter what happens, we're going to be better than last year. Right, we're going to be better than last year. It's not hard, is it? Exactly.
I was going to say, the only way to be worse is be relegated, isn't it? Like, fuck it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We're going to be better than last year, and there's positives. But I think that we could have an upward trajectory, and it still wouldn't work with Ten Hag potentially because it's hard to see what the ceiling is yet because we haven't really seen anything to indicate like this world class potential management at United. Out of him. We've seen good runs, we've seen good times, and I think we could get back to that, but not like that elite. And it's a third season, and so I don't know. I rightly don't know, frankly. I feel I have a lot of doubts, obviously, still, and I think we all do. I think we're all like, we want to see what happens. That was the second game in charge for the Brighton manager at the weekend. It'll be Arne Slot's third game in charge when we play Liverpool at the weekend. We have to start getting some results against these teams that do not have a history under the current managers. And obviously, they're well-run clubs, and there's a lot of things there. But at this point, like you said, Ten Hag's been back. He's got what he needs. So let's see what he can do. And I think we will know by December whether he's the guy for the future or not.
That's what I said. I was like, if we're here with like game week 20 and we're heading into the Christmas matches and you're still getting the stuff that we're seeing, I don't like his chances of staying. I really don't.
Yeah, you know the answer,
yeah. And I don't think INEOS are ones to sit there and go, yeah, we'll give him to the end of the season. I think they will make a change. I really do.
Yeah, and you only have, United legend as a head coach.
Rude.
As his assistant now, it's like you have 3 head coaches on the coaching staff. So, I think they're prepared, and that's kind of their thing, right? Is to be prepared. So they are, if they had to do something. Yeah, it's crazy to talk about in the second game. I know, and we all get, but it's like, it's a weird situation because I don't think we've ever gone into a new season with as many doubts over a manager as we have this year, frankly, where things ended last season, and it's an unusual situation to be in. But hopefully, I hope it works out really well. And come December, we're in the top 4. Things are improving, and we're winning the Europa League. I mean, we can't have bad results in the Europa League too. No. That's the other thing, right? We cannot have what we had in the Champions League last year in the European competition. We cannot. Yeah. That is like instant disaster more than anything else. A bad result in the Europa League stages would be the end for everything.
It's just hope Onana doesn't decide to throw balls in his own net or whatever he was doing.
That would be nice.
Whatever he was doing against Galatasaray and Bayern Munich. But yeah, I just wanted to make the swing to the media because over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed it, and I bet Nick has as well. Media have come for United big. Like they're already on us, and they're already claiming Ten Hag's not going to last till Christmas. De Ligt couldn't get into the Bayern squad. Why are they buying him? You sort of operate within that sphere without actually being in that sphere at the same time. So you're in a sort of unique position. When the outlets, you've got outlets like Sky, TalkSport, even print journalists, like who was the Guardian journalist, Steinberg? He was having a go at Kobbie Mainoo when he played for England, blaming him for the goals and stuff like that, which is insane. Mm-hmm. When they're continually biased and negative around a team you support and obviously cover, how do you feel about that? Not just as a fan, but as someone who's in that space and in that sphere. And then you've got teams like Chelsea who are just absolutely gaming the system, and nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. And United are just getting absolute. How do you approach that? Like, how do you sort of like? Because I feel more fan than content creator at the minute, so I'm very emotional about stuff. But I try not to be. Nick's very much the same with like a heart in the sleeve, and we just like fuck this. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just interested for your perspective because obviously you're not from Manchester, you're an American. but you're obviously a United fan, but at the same time you cover all this stuff. How do you feel like when you see that going on?
You know, to be totally honest, I couldn't give a fuck. I
There you
just
go.
don't honestly care what people say about these types of things. I mean,
Wait till
it
you
is
hear
what
my
it is.
question
It
next.
doesn't
James.
matter.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I honestly don't care. You know me, like I always just say what I think.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't really care what and I don't expect people to agree with me even. It doesn't matter. It's just, so I don't really care what people are going to write and what people are going to say, about the club, because it helps. It's not like I'm going to going out and getting bantered by people, about Manchester United. It's a different environment, obviously. I don't really care. Once I step off of the camera, out of the screen, and close Twitter, there's nothing. There's no Manchester United around me, right? There's no Liverpool. There's no rival fans. There's nothing. So it's easier to disconnect from the talk, right, of everything going on. For sure, being over here, but in general, it just doesn't matter to me.
Well, whilst we're speaking of media and journalists and people in this world, he who shall not be named, I won't do it. I won't give him the name. A certain individual, I'm sure you saw it, quote tweeted something you had said about McTominay and Duarte. Thoughts on this, Mr. Rhodes? Because this kind of does fall into the same context, doesn't it? Because you have people reactionary, saying certain things. Does that at least affect you, or do you sometimes feel like saying, fuck you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that bothers me in that I don't like, for the most part, 9 out of 10 times it happens because something's been misquoted.
Yes.
And I think the aggregating aspect of things is a much more annoying problem than anything else.
Yeah.
There's people who do it well. There's people who message me and will say, hey, can I say this from your video? Is that accurate, or how would you put it? Because I want to look, I make videos every single day. I talk so much. I spend hours and hours talking.
Yeah.
And it's not all prepared statements and speeches. None of it is. It's all off of the cuff. And so, it's very easy for people to take something and try to make it into something it isn't. Just because I talk about so much, and I also give my opinion a lot. But, generally it comes off things like that. And so, usually do I care that someone, disagrees with me or something like that? No, not at all. But I do strongly stand by what I say, as long as it is exactly what I said. And so even, in that instance, I put I talked about it today on video, and I stand by this quite strongly. For most of the window, when it seemed that United would have to sell to buy Ugarte, right? This is something that was pretty well confirmed for a long time. They had the money for the center backs. They had the money for the striker, with Martial and Varane departing and all of that. But they've needed to sell to buy. Now, they've done an excellent job of that. All those little sales of academy players and youth players for 5 to 10 million are huge on the budget and on your ability to spend and all that. But for a long time, in the midfield especially, United needed to sell to buy. Originally, the hope was Casemiro, right? That Saudi would come in for Casemiro. The club, Ten Hag, everybody was on the same page. If Saudi came in for Casemiro, we let him go immediately. And that's going to fund our ability to get in a midfielder. When they did not come in, it presented a bit of an issue, because Ten Hag uses Scott McTominay a lot. Saved his job last year. Honestly did, right? Because without the wins against Brentford and the things earlier in the season, among others, it would have been so bad in terms of the points and where United were at that it would just be impossible. But he used him effectively as an extra goal scorer in a season where we didn't score a lot of goals. And McTominay did a good job of that. Coming in and off the bench and having an impact against Brentford, against Chelsea, and other games. And he did a good job of that. Ten Hag didn't want to lose him. He would prefer not to lose him. And so at the time, the decision was, we know we need reinforcement in the midfield, but do I want to lose McTominay to get Ugarte? Is that a trade that's worth making at this point in time? And his side of it was no for a while, because he felt he could get more out of McTominay and perhaps bringing Sofiane Amrabat back than signing Ugarte. Now, I vehemently disagree with that, because I would say that that's a part of this, I think most fans would, because it's a part of this, creating a problem with your solution thing that has happened under Ten Hag quite a bit. You try to solve the goal scoring with McTominay, but you're creating a lot of issues by not having a midfielder who does everything else. And Amrabat, I think, was pretty poor, but he had found a use for him by the end of the season, in the FA Cup final and all of that, and so could see how to make him work. But that was what was under discussion, and even up until recently, as we saw, it changed the nature of the Ugarte deal. It was still getting kind of stuck until they could move McTominay on. That's how they got into the loan and the obligation, and it was looking like it was going to go that way with PSG, but it was difficult still. And once they got the deal done for McTominay, they were able to push ahead and get a straight purchase of Ugarte. So it was like there was definitely some conflict over this through the summer, a difference of opinion between Ten Hag and between others in the club on what the right course of action was. And I'm not the only person who said that. I remember listening to David Ornstein and thinking this is going to drag because of this situation, and looking into it more, where he said on a podcast that not everybody was on the same page, in accord, on going for Ugarte at that time. And I remember hearing that and thinking that's not good, because from my side, I understood that, the people in the recruitment side of things were very strong on him. So it was something worth looking into, and it all kind of ties together. So, that's what the reality of it was. It wasn't that Ten Hag doesn't like Ugarte as a footballer. It's not the reality in the slightest. But he really rated Scott McTominay. He really rated Scott McTominay. He really wanted him to stay in an ideal world. In an ideal world, it would have been Casemiro and McTominay for him, and McTominay stays and Ugarte comes in still. So getting it right is important in terms of the reality of it. But it was a situation that had to be resolved for this deal to happen.
Just before Nick goes into his quick fire, we touched. I forgot to ask about Jadon Sancho. What are you hearing? Where are we at with that? There's a lot of reports coming out. There was a report saying Juventus had agreed terms with an obligation. Is it Fabrice Hawkins, I think, put it out?
Yeah.
That's been debunked.
Yeah.
And then
They jumped the bunk.
And Romano's debunked it. Now it seems like people are reporting saying Sancho wants Chelsea. Where are we at with Sancho? What have you heard? Like, what's going on?
And also, to add on that, is it a swap deal straight? We'd have Sterling on a 3-4 year contract, or is it, what's the function of it, basically?
Obviously messy, right? It's messy. When you get to this stage in the window with less than a day left, right?
Yep.
Decisions have to get made. With Juventus, they definitely jumped the gun on that, because United, as we kind of talked about, they want a permanent deal, and that was not what was on offer, it seems, from Juventus. There's also quite a bit of agency stuff going on here, trying to, and I think a lot of it was hoping to get. Here's what's interesting. I think there's 2 French reporters who reported that the deal was done with Juventus, and everybody else said no. And I could give my reasons for that, but point being is that I think there was a goal from Sancho's side, I don't know, to get him to Chelsea, because he would much prefer to go to London. That's been the case for a long, long time. Obviously, he's a boyhood Chelsea fan. He's from the area. He's London born and would like to return there. Same as Wan-Bissaka wanted to get back to London, and they're close as well. And so he would prefer, I think, to be in London, to be in Chelsea. And so there's been a lot of work to see if that was possible. Joe Shields at Chelsea was one of the people who discovered him a long time ago, way back when, and was in his year kind of last season before all the drama happened, and has been in his year again. So, he would prefer that. So that makes it difficult with Juventus, because they're also just not offering that permanent deal. And that's why it seems like they were still talking about a potential conditional obligation, but it seems like it didn't reach any conclusion yesterday. And then today it's kind of fallen apart further. Right now, I would put it about 60% he stays and 40% he goes to Chelsea. Now, in the way that he would go to Chelsea, I think for their perspective, they kind of need it to be a swap for it to happen. I will never pretend to understand Chelsea's strategy nor their finances, because it's obviously insane, right?
Does anybody understand?
Nobody knows what they're doing. It's crazy, but I would suggest that they need Sterling off the books as part of this. Now, the problem is United are not going to pay him $300,000 a week. It's not going to happen. They'll keep Sancho before doing that. So they're going to have to agree a payoff. He's going to have to agree a reduced contract between the two of them, Chelsea and Sterling, to figure that out. If they did, United would take this deal, I think.
But
I think that is genuine.
Sterling 70 million, don't they? In bonuses and wages, what I saw.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll. I mean, I don't know how long he has left on his contract. That might be the case. Yeah, and that's what makes it complicated. Now, you don't have to pay off an entire contract, okay? Like when a player transfers, you don't have to pay off the whole deal. It could be agreed between the parties in different ways. He might get from us over the span of a few years 15 to 20 million, and then there might be some other things that get worked out, and some of it's not really due, and you never really know. But the alternative is he's not playing. He's not even like in their team. He doesn't even have a number. It's like, so a lot of it's the decision between them and him. And I'm not saying that's right. The way they've been treating their players is absolutely nuts. The players they signed and paid for and gave contracts to.
Academy players as well. I mean, Conor Gallagher and Trevor.
Yeah, it's wild, So I think if they agreed something there that let United get like a 2 to 3 year deal with Sterling on 150,000 a week, then they'd take it. They would take it, and they're seriously considering that, And it is correct. Dan Ashworth is a big fan of him, of Raheem Sterling, and obviously, I mean, Wilcox and Barada will know him well too, from the history with City. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are big fans of Raheem Sterling at United right now, and they were strong. They like, it's not a play. It's not a bullshit that they would consider bringing Raheem Sterling in on a swap for Jadon Sancho, but it has to be right too. They're not stupid. They're not going to make a big financial outlay on something like this. It has to result in a gain financially versus keeping Sancho. And yeah, I don't know. Obviously, every minute that goes by, that gets less likely, right? Yeah. Every minute that goes by, because of the complications of it, it gets less likely. So this morning, maybe 50-50, by now, 60-40. 2 hours from now, it's maybe 70-30 that Sancho stays. And, so that's how it's going.
What you get announced now whilst we're live, like, still deal.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is it could, crazier things that happen. Dortmund pop up with an obligation at the last minute. Crazier things have happened on the deadline day. But and the important part to be clear is that you don't have to finish the whole deal by the deadline, right? You got to get the deal sheets in. Yeah. Like the offers have to be submitted and then you have time to wrap up all the details after that. So it can be like, it could take 5 minutes to get the deal done from the deadline standpoint. So it's not like, oh, it's 6 hours to go, it's not going to happen. It could happen at any moment between now and, I don't know what it is, Friday at 10 or whatever the time is that it actually ends.
Yeah, Raheem Sterling outside Carrington waiting on deadline day. Can't wait to see that. Right. No one had that on the fucking bingo card. Let me tell you, not one person at the start of the summer. Jesus.
Peter, was it Peter Odemwingie? Was that the guy, the player? Are you aware of Peter Odemwingie, James? You know who he is? No.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah. What a story that is. Was it West Brom? Yeah. He played for, and he drove
Stoke to West Brom.
Yeah, that's outside of my knowledge.
So is this player? He was like a right forward Nigerian. He was all right, average player. And he really wanted to move to West Brom, and he was playing at Stoke at the time. And to make the deal happen, he basically got in his car and drove down to the West Brom training ground at 10 o'clock at night to try and get the deal done. And then all the cameras basically turned up at the car park to film him and ask him what he's doing there.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm just signing for this teammate." Like, I don't think you are. I don't think the deal's being done, pal. And he's like, "Oh, all right, okay." So. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Sterling outside Carrington. Let's see if it happens. Before we get into the quick fire questions, if anyone has any questions you want to pop in the chat, any of our members, any of the people who've come over from James's channel, anyone at all, get them in as we've just put in there. And we're going to dive in. So this is quick fire, James. I know you do like your detail, but we're going to fire. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it.
Right. So I'm going to kick it off, and then Sam's going to go, and then we're going to kind of interchange like that. Yeah. So. Who will finish higher, United or Chelsea?
United.
Nice. What team in the Premier League's had the best transfer window?
Probably Aston Villa, I would guess. But it's close to us as well.
Okay. One surprise you think may happen this season, can be anything.
I think Tottenham will be very, very good. Close to the top by the end of the year.
Don't see that happening because it's Tottenham, but fair enough.
Well, they won't finish it, but they'll be close. That's the thing.
Would you rather take a trophy or top four spot this season?
Top 4, 100%. Now, obviously, Europa gives you Champions League, so that I would qualify with that. But yeah, top 4 over the FA Cup or League Cup easily.
Clear Luke Shaw to stay fit or Onana not to make a mistake this season.
He's already injured. He's already fucked. It's already happened.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's got to be Onana to not make a mistake because
Okay.
the other thing's impossible.
Yeah.
I think you answered this question already, but priority position for January/summer?
Left back. Left back.
Left back. One player from Liverpool's squad who would instantly improve an area we need.
I would go with McAllister.
Oh yeah.
Tidy little player.
Yeah.
Fun. 35 million, whatever it was as well. Crazy.
Yeah. He'd be an amazing midfielder to fit into that contingent we have.
Yeah. One player we should have signed this summer but didn't.
Probably Kadioglu. I think he would have solved a lot of problems as a left back, right back, center back, all of those things. But
absolutely.
Yeah. And then the last question: when we hit 10K, will you feature on our special, sir? When we do
100%. Of course.
There we go. What a way to wrap it up. Sam, have we got any questions in the chat we're dive into?
People are talking about Peter Odemwingie, which is fucking hilarious.
Oh, what a guy. What a guy he is.
One for James. Do we know anything moving forward regarding January or next summer? Is the profile INEOS preferred this summer what they'll be sticking with, or is it just this for this window?
No, I think they'll be sticking with it for the next one as well. I think you'll see next summer they want to finish the squad out with another young midfielder, left back, potentially another young center back, evaluate the forwards and see if anybody needs replacing. And then the following year will be like title charge. Who do we need? Top player can we get into to like raise the ceiling of this team to the top? So I think next year we'll see similar to this. There's a bit more clear out needed with Lindelof, Eriksen, Maguire, maybe Shaw, maybe Rashford, maybe, Mount, depending, all sorts of things in there to finish clearing out and start to get the youth a bit closer to getting into those positions in the team.
Yeah, Dave asked one before. I can't see it, but I remember what it was. Oasis have reunited. Have you got a favorite Oasis song?
Not big here like they are over there, so it's just going to be Wonderwall because.
For God's sake!
I knew it. Yeah.
Shock of the Lightning, maybe.
Okay, that's more respectable.
That's a good one.
Respectable.
Yeah.
Any news on INEOS?
That's the only other one on my phone, anyway.
That's the B option.
Yeah.
Plan B.
Yeah.
Any news if INEOS will go for a full takeover soon?
I think next year we'll see them buying up some more, but 2025 before they do anything else.
Small margins, as one might say.
Yeah. Are you excited for the Europa League draw tomorrow? And side question: can you explain how it's like working? Because
we're gonna be here all day.
I don't know what the fuck is happening.
No, I can't. But just think of it like, okay, I will say that I can almost explain it a little easier. Not how it's drawn, because that's nonsense. I can explain it because it's really similar to an American Football League, in that outside of the groups, if you take the groups away, you just have like a league and you just play an irregular number of games because you're not playing everybody twice like it used to be in your group. So it's the same thing in American football. You don't play every team twice. You just get this random assortment of games that are selected, same number of home and away, but it's random against who. And then the top teams make the playoffs, and it turns into a head-to-head bracket format. So it's kind of that simple in a sense.
Fair enough. Where's the other one? Any news?
But I am excited for it. I actually think it's going to be fun.
I agree.
I was more interesting.
League draws today, and I was like, I don't mind that.
I just wish I understood the format a little bit more, because in a minute I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? But anyway. There we go. Shocker Lighted last album, fair play. Any news on any potential loan deals?
In or out? Because I mean, there still could be a number of young players that go off to the championship even after the deadline, right? Because it's a different timeline for that. From the first team squad, I would still not be surprised to see Toby Collier move, but
Interesting.
He hasn't played, and we've brought in another 6. But then again, Mason Mount's injured. But
Rabiot.
Eriksen hasn't stepped on the pitch either. I don't think we'll bring anybody in. I think it's Sterling or the window's over, just for what it's worth. That's my take.
They are words you never thought you would say at the end of this window.
Yeah, right. Isn't that wild? I didn't expect that.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Dave's explained it for us. Every team plays 2 teams from each pot, 1 home, 1 away in each pot. Top 8 going to a round of 16, and then the 9 to 24 play for the remaining 8 spots. There you go.
Yeah, I suppose because it's more games and it's more teams to look forward to play against. It's a mixture of.
And I think there's a little more jeopardy, for all the games, because
for sure.
Because when you have one big team in a group of 4, it's pointless. They win 2 games and it's over. They don't have anything else to play for. Now I think you actually do have to win 5 or 6 games to guarantee you're in the draw and not in a knockout to get into the knockout.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting.
Thoughts on? I'm gonna get this pronunciation wrong. Sekou Kone. I definitely got that wrong.
No, I don't think.
I think that's cool. I think it's a really cool signing. Yeah, really highly rated young player, and help get us more young midfielders. I mean, how long has it been since we promoted a midfielder into the team?
Yeah,
from the youth. We've done it elsewhere, but not in the midfield.
We got
Manu.
But in terms of young talent brought in, Chido, the winger, his name escapes me, from Palace. What's his name? Samuel Lasela, is it? I think that we brought in.
Yeah.
And is Sekou Kone as well, Mali international. So I think some young.
We'd like to see more, right? Get into the depth positions instead of signing old 30-year-olds who can't play anymore, right?
Yeah,
I'd like to see that more often.
I don't know much about this guy, but I've seen him all over X in a minute. Nipan, are those links real?
Yeah, for sure. United are definitely interested in him. They had some discussions with his club about it. I would say one for maybe not this January, but perhaps the following. If he continues to have a good career, he continues to play well. He's young, playing against seniors, doing a job already. I would definitely keep him in mind for maybe 2026. Now they could do a deal ahead of time, but he wants to stay next season too. And their season runs January to December, so it's a little bit different.
I think this should be the final question because it's football related. And if you've got a question after it, you can
just one more. But go on.
This is from Dino, so it's just going to be mental.
Yeah, crazy.
James, being from America, do you believe in the Sasquatch, and what do you think he is?
I've never heard of that.
Bigfoot.
The Sasquatch.
Bigfoot.
No, what is it?
Bigfoot.
You don't know what Bigfoot is?
Oh no, yeah. I know what Bigfoot is, but Sasquatch.
That's what Bigfoot is. A Sasquatch, basically.
Oh.
It's probably just there's a lot of people who like to live up in the mountains and do a lot of drugs, and it's about that simple. That's
you go to Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester to see plenty of Sasquatches, mate. I'm telling
you. Zombies is what I call them on Spice.
It is. Manchester Zoo is crazy. Right, I think this would be nice to finish on because obviously we play Liverpool on Sunday. Just give us a quick prediction for that game, James. How do you feel? Are you positive? Are you nervous?
Nervous. I think we could get a draw out of it. I'm trying to keep my expectations low.
Would that be acceptable?
I think we can get a draw. I would accept a draw. The nature of it would be depending. If we're doing well and it's a good game, and it's a draw, I think it's fair. I think team-wise, both teams are of a similar level at this point in time, so I'd accept it. I'm not sure everybody would accept it. I think it depends how we play it too. We can't play them like they're the much better team, and then eke out a draw. I don't think that's acceptable at the stage that we're in. I think we got to try to play our game. And if we play our game and we can get a goal and a couple goals and maybe we concede a little bit, I'm okay with that, I guess. I'd like to see attack. So I'm okay with a draw if we're attacking.
Yeah, let's hope it's like the FA Cup game. Back and forth, and the last minute winner. I'd absolutely take that in a heartbeat. Just very quickly, again, thank you for coming on, James. We're always very appreciative. I'm sure you know this by now. What have we got coming up this week, the weekend? Are you covering the game? Any shows coming up?
I'm doing the watch. I'm doing a watch along on the game on Sunday, and then I'll do a live tomorrow, kind of pre-match thing. I've been doing a fun one where I had the chat vote for the whole team they wanted, and then compare it to last week and see how it changes week to week in terms of who they want to be selected. I have a feeling it's going to change a little bit this time.
Is it every week? Is it every week? Nobody wants to play Rashford. essentially. Like people are just
No,
like,
he's been winning the votes. I've been
Okay.
surprised, but
Fair
I
enough.
feel like maybe that it gets like a little closer every week.
Yeah.
You know, but
Small margins.
maybe now's the tipping point. But it's so easy to swing it back, you know, because I think most people feel nobody's been very good off of the left for a long time for us, and so maybe it's better to try Garnacho there. But if it doesn't work, it's just going to flip right back to Rashford next week. You know, I'd like us to just solve the reason why it sucks so bad, the left side.
Get a left back, a fucking left. I'm just
yeah.
gonna title this video. We need a
Get
left
a
back.
fucking left back, please.
Jesus.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Can Sterling play left back by any chance? Can he just do a job there? No.
Let's just stick Anthony out there if we're gonna have a use for him. I
God.
mean, he's got a left foot.
He was well
Yeah,
happy.
if
He
he-
was well happy playing left back last time. You remember that?
I know.
Not kicking off at all.
He was super happy.
Yeah.
If
Fucking
he played as good as he stared, he'd be a fucking phenomenal player. My God. Yeah. I think that's a good. I'm looking forward to the game on the weekend. I hope we win because
Yeah, me too.
Fucking miserable, man.
I'd be
Absolutely
it
miserable.
changed the whole mood if we win, but alternately, it's gonna be before the international break. It's gonna be brutal.
Yeah.
If we don't,
Oh God,
so.
yeah. I forgot about the international
It
break.
is.
Yeah.
It's a similar pattern though, isn't it? Because you remember that season when Sancho
Very.
scored against Liverpool, and we looked shit the,
The
first two
season
games.
under 10 Hag.
Yeah, and then we won against Liverpool at home. So you know what I mean? It's not out the realm of possibility. Like this is not a strange
could
thing
do
to
it.
happen.
Yeah. So we're going to be very, very busy over the weekend, of course. Tomorrow we've got the press conference. You've got Europa League draw. You've got the last day of deadline.
Liverpool preview.
And Liverpool preview. My God, it's going to be so busy. So please do turn on your notification bells, guys. Go check James out everywhere, socials, YouTube, if you are a part of our community and you're a real Red Ultra, sorry. And yeah, let's hope to do this again, maybe near the winter time or whatever, or whenever you're free. It's always
We'll do it sooner. Yeah, we'll do it sooner. Whenever you all want.
Awesome. Thank you to James. Thank you to Sam, as always. And thank you to everyone in the chat. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Who knows, might get breaking news tonight about the Sterling swap deal. We'll see what happens. See you in a bit.